Right now, there's an ETF just starting to go a little bit mainstream, maybe a toe in the water of mainstream, but banks still can't clear it. Banks still can't transact in it. Banks still can't custodian it. Banks still won't transact in it, and they won't finance it yet. I think people misunderstand traditional financial service companies. They want to transact in Bitcoin. They want new asset classes to transact in. That's just a good thing, but they need the regulator to say it's okay. Right now, today, right? If a bank were to hold your Bitcoin, they would have to set aside their own money equal to that amount in sort of like in a jail. I mean, you'd say, well, that's crazy. The answer is, that's why they don't hold it. But if you let them hold it, if the regulatory environment was good, you will see all the traditional financial service companies, the big banks, the big brokerage companies, they're all going to go headfirst into Bitcoin pond. That's what's going to happen, and it's coming. It's a slow, steady process, but eventually there's going to be a CFTC chair who says, you know what, Bitcoin is a financial asset, and we're going to treat it as such. And when that happens, you're going to see Bitcoin move in a very, very strong, positive direction.
Bitcoin is at the precipice of widespread adoption in traditional finance, but regulatory hurdles remain. Howard Lutnick, the newly confirmed U.S. Commerce Secretary, has positioned himself as a key advocate for Bitcoin's integration into the financial sector. According to him, the shift isn't a question of if, but when.
As we have been here on Live Now, updating you on the progress being made, slowly but surely, to fill out President Trump's cabinet. I want to put this up here. So President Trump administration has now a Senate-confirmed Commerce Secretary in one Howard Lutnick. You see there the vote, 51 yeas, 45 nays there. All right, so you've probably seen Howard Lutnick, though, standing behind the president at some of these events where President Trump signs executive orders, especially when it comes to kind of the tariff infrastructure that the president and his aides are adopting. But you still might be asking yourself, who is Howard Lutnick? He was, remember, the CEO of the investment firm Cantor Fitzgerald. He oversaw 50,000 employees who do everything from collecting economic statistics to running the census to issuing weather reports.
Lutnick's background in finance and investment banking makes him uniquely positioned to advocate for Bitcoin's future. His firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, has already taken bold steps into the crypto space, working to legitimize digital assets in traditional finance.
Cantor Fitzgerald is here to announce that we are launching a Bitcoin financing business. We will offer leverage to those who own Bitcoin. We are going to launch with $2 billion of lending. And once we put out the $2 billion of lending, we will go up in increments of $2 billion. You have to realize Cantor and BGC, its largest wholesaler, we finance and arrange vast amounts. And we are going to now build that ecosystem for Bitcoin. So the moral of the story is we are going to welcome Bitcoin into the financing family of the global financial markets, and Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be your sponsor.
Lutnick's vision isn't just talk. His firm is actively building the infrastructure necessary to bring Bitcoin into the traditional financial system. His backing could push Bitcoin into the mainstream at an unprecedented rate.
So let me talk Bitcoin for a little bit. I want to be clear. I am a fan of Bitcoin. Of course, do I own Bitcoin? Of course I do. Cantor Fitzgerald and all of its partners are a fan of Bitcoin. Does Cantor Fitzgerald own Bitcoin? A shed load of Bitcoin. My view is Bitcoin, like gold, should be free to trade everywhere in the world. And as the largest wholesaler in the world, we are going to do everything in our power to make it so. Bitcoin is the same as gold, and Bitcoin should trade the same as gold everywhere in the world without exception and without limitation.
The comparison between Bitcoin and gold is critical. By viewing Bitcoin as a commodity rather than a currency, Lutnick is positioning it as an asset that can be widely accepted without political interference.
Bitcoin will be financeable. Bitcoin will be way, way, way higher, sometimes lower. You just have to have faith.
As Bitcoin continues its steady march toward mainstream financial adoption, the role of major institutions like Cantor Fitzgerald cannot be overstated. Lutnick has made it clear that he sees Bitcoin as a fundamental part of the future financial ecosystem, and he's putting his money where his mouth is.
I don't have a big enough percentage. I probably have, no, I can't say, because then people can figure out that no, how much I have. I would say I have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin. And it will be billions.
Lutnick isn't just investing in Bitcoin, he's doubling down on its future. His belief in Bitcoin's ability to transform financial markets is reflected in his firm's aggressive expansion into digital assets.
So next year when you come back, and we'll do this again, and you'll be a Bitcoin billionaire, and
yeah, but you remember that model I told you? So if every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be the buyer. Right?
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending.
This strategy is one that mirrors traditional wealth accumulation models in commodities like gold. Lutnick isn't just holding Bitcoin, he's buying more whenever its price dips, reinforcing his confidence in its long-term value.
Basically, what you're going to see is Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be the sponsor of Bitcoin into traditional finance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will be the leader of it. And I'll pull out this podcast in years to come and say, see, I told you, because no one's going to remember.
Of course.
Right. But all the banks, after we do it and show people how to do it right, they'll all copy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the asset of Bitcoin will just, as it becomes more accepted, it will become more valuable.
Lutnick understands the domino effect that institutional investment will have on Bitcoin's valuation. By establishing Cantor Fitzgerald as a leader in Bitcoin financing, he's paving the way for widespread adoption among banks and major financial entities.
And the whole Bitcoin nation should just call it a commodity, never a currency.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it a commodity. Because if it's a currency, you're attacking the politicians of the country,
mm-hmm.
right? You're trying to replace my currency with yours.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, hey, I'm just oil, I'm just gold,
mm-hmm.
I'm just a commodity, leave me be, right? Then they'll leave you be.
This strategic positioning could be the key to Bitcoin's long-term success. By framing Bitcoin as a commodity rather than a currency, it avoids political pushback and gains legitimacy as a financial asset, much like gold or oil.
Right? Bitcoin will be financeable. Bitcoin will be way, way, way higher, sometimes lower. You just have to have faith.
As Bitcoin gains institutional backing, its trajectory seems clearer than ever. Do you think traditional finance will fully embrace Bitcoin within the next decade? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Bitcoin's rise to legitimacy in traditional finance is not a matter of if, but when. As Howard Lutnick and other financial leaders push for broader adoption, the regulatory barriers preventing widespread institutional involvement will eventually fall. When that happens, Bitcoin will enter a new era of acceptance and valuation.
Every time someone buys Tether, Tether buys a treasury bill, and we're financing the U.S. Treasury's debt. So emerging market distribution of USDT is fundamental for backing our debt in our country, which helps us live in this beautiful way.
With Bitcoin's future looking increasingly bright, do you think regulation will finally catch up and allow traditional banks to fully embrace digital assets? Let us know in the comments below.